What's going on, everyone, and welcome back. Last episode, we didn't get around to camera stuff. We actually started the uh, runtime script loading. Well, completely started it. Basically, what we have is we have a script or a class that has all has these methods in order to import it, to get a behavior, or to clean up clean up imported scripts from outside of the project. I believe this part right here is new. There's another piece of code that is new. Um, so you will actually have to, or you don't have to, but right here is the old code inside of this loop. This was not here. So basically, I just did what I was explaining in the last episode. It's so that right here, what we're doing is we're returning the class that was created. Well, instead of returning the class that's created, I added this piece of code right here, and this creates a new instance of the class that was loaded. That way, whenever you're getting a behavior, you're not getting just like one single behavior. So if two game objects in the scene, like two players or whatever in the scene, uh, they won't have the exact same behavior. So if we change a value on one, it's not going to change on the other. Like that's how we want it. So we're actually just creating a new instance whenever we're returning it. So that's what this will look like. If you just type this right here instead of this whole try catch thing, it will give you the ability to create a try multi catch, and you just do that. So we don't need this anymore. Yeah, I kind of went over that a little bit last video, and I just didn't want to go through the whole thing and explain it because I wanted to cut down a little bit of time. Another thing is right here. This is not separator spelled like that. It is actually spelled with an A right here, so it's separator. So that'll actually cause a mess if we don't do that. So what we need to do here is we need to make some things that's actually going to be calling it. So we actually need to use the scripts that we've created. So I've got these already up, and we need to have a folder for scripts in the logic behavior space. So right down here under the project, there should be a folder called scripts. Well, we're not going to create that manually because we need to go ahead and add it where it automatically does it for us. So it'll update our projects that we're currently working on. So right here, let's go private static list of string, because it'll be exactly the same as these other ones. Or you could just not type it up and copy and paste it. So that'll give us a list of strings. Right here, we need to actually do this a little bit different for the scripts. I believe. I'll maybe get to that in just a second. Because we have import from directory, which, right? Where is it? Oh, init resources. So whenever we first start, we're gonna we init the resource paths, and that creates these array list of paths. And right now we only have it so that it imports from these packages and from this resource folder. That's the only places that it does it right now. So we have, whenever it calls import from directory, if it's in the resource folder, if it's not, then import from jar. So inside of the import from directory, we're actually going to, yeah, we'll get back to this in just a second. We haven't even created that, so. Right here under import from directory, for the scripts, we are not going to do import from local directory, because import from local directory is the resource folder. So we will create something called import from external directory. So right here we will say scripts equals import from external directory. And then the name of the folder, which is scripts. We'll pass in 1. Because how we set up this in editor util is we're passing in the full file path, which is going to include the .java. So we need to pass the whole thing in there. So there's import from local directory, and let's go private static void import from external directory. And we will need a string path. String path. So right here, basically what we're going to do is we're just going to get a list of all the paths inside of the folder, and then kind of get everything set properly, because I do want a int use extension, because I think whenever we get to adding external skins and sprites and shaders and what the hell ever, it's going to be, we're going to have to use this extension as well, this integer, so I'll have to add that too. So the first thing we need to do in this method is we need to create a list of string paths. which is just going to be a new array list of strings. And then here we're going to actually get the directory of the new path. So it will be directory equals new file, and it's editor dot, come on, working directory plus path. And I don't want you there. Let's go ahead and import that. And that gives the script directory whenever we call it up here, or whatever external directory. So if we want the scenes external directory in the project, it would just, you would pass in scenes, and then it would say working directory plus scenes, blah blah blah. You probably know that. Next, we need an array of files. So array files equals dir dot list files, and that will give us a list of all the files in that directory. So for, do I have an iterator variable? I'm pretty sure I do. Yeah, but I have it right here. Let's not do that. Let's private static int I. That way I can use it down here. For I equals 0, I is lower than files dot length I plus plus. And then inside of this loop, we need to get the absolute path. So string a path equals files I dot get absolute path. And the next thing we need to do is we need to check to see if the file that was returned is in fact a file and it's not a directory, because we're not doing children directory, at least right now we're not. So let's go ahead and continue if it's not. So if path dot ends with a slash, then we know it is a folder and not a file. So here we will just continue. And then now we need to check whether we need to use the extension or not. So if use extension equals yeah, we'll just do 0. Do a path equals a path dot, come on, split, and then we're going to split it at backspace dot. So we will split it at the dots, and it will be the first element in the array, so 0. And then here we'll just say paths dot add a path. Okay, so this is just shaving off the extension and passing it to the path. If not, we're just going to use the whole a path. And then here, I will just return paths. right? Oh, no. Whoops. List of string, because that's what we're returning, is a list of strings. Okay, so now that got rid of that error. Now we need to actually add the loop and the load all resources. Now this, I believe I can just do the same as the other one, kind of, because right here we need to call, we're not creating a new one. What we're doing is we need to call editor util to actually create them. So right here we'll say for I equals 0, I is lower than scripts.size, I plus plus. And then instead of creating a new thing, we're going to say editor util dot import class, and then we're just gonna pass in scripts dot get I. And I believe that is it for the actual asset importing. So let's try to run it. Shouldn't get any errors. Should load up just fine, or not. Import from external directory 104. What am I missing? How is, oh, you know what? We're not actually making it yet. Of course. So let's go ahead and make this directory. So new file, working directory plus scripts. Yeah, because we don't actually have the directory yet. Okay, now what happens? There we go. Okay, so no errors being thrown. Inside of here, this is my project that I'm working in. I'll go ahead and refresh this just to show the package. Like it's already loading in the, already loaded in the app, but it doesn't refresh in this editor. So there we go. So now scripts is actually created in there. So we don't have to do anything manually. So if you already have a project started and you're already starting to do your levels or whatever it is you're doing, then you don't have to worry about it. It will just automatically do it for you. Now, another thing is the game object class. We're going to have to change the way we add components, because some components that we're adding is going to be built into the jar, or it's going to be from your project directory or your workspace. So we need to actually change this up a little bit. So that can stay the same. Right here, we actually need to add a try catch. So we're going to try to get the name. If we cannot get the name, what's going to be called is we're going to be catching no class. I believe it's def, not the full-on definition. Let's try it. New def found error. Yeah, that sounds right. Right there. Okay, yeah, that's good. So if there is no class definition found, we are just going to return null. All right. Yeah, that looks good. That should do it. All right, now for the class not found exception down here. So if this doesn't work out, it'll kick through here and it'll catch saying class not found. Well, right now we're just saying class whatever could not be found, which is perfectly fine. But if it's not found, it could be inside of our workspace. So here is where we're actually going to try to find it if it is. So we'll say logic behavior L equals editor util dot get behavior v. So sorry. So now we'll just check to see if L is null. So if L does not equal null, then we know that we have a behavior. So we will just return add component L. Because we've already created the behavior, so then we could just pass it directly into here and it'll do it for us. And then we can just leave this log here. So if it's not found inside of the jar or the resources folder, then it's going to check if it's inside of the workspace directory. And if it's not inside of the workspace directory and it hasn't returned this, then it's going to call class not found, because then and only then is the class not actually found. All right, so that clears that. What was it I was wanting to do in the inspector? Oh, I think I was wanting to get rid of all this for now. Because we're going to have to add this manually now. Yeah, so just in case I end up changing my mind and we do something differently in the future, let's go ahead and just comment all that out. yeah, so we'll just leave that commented, and if I decide to go back to this and just change it a little bit, we'll still have this code here and we won't have to retype it back up. So right here we will say logic behavior L equals selected dot add component output. Right. Give me just a second. Okay, never mind. So that will work because right here we're creating a new instance. And then this is retrieving a new instance. Okay. That's what I was worried about. I was worried about because over here we create the new instance. But we don't need to do that. So yeah, okay. So we could just go ahead and do the whole selected add component output, and that'll work just fine. It'll be a new instance. All right, so if L does not equal null, then we are going to set the attributes and pass in selected. Yeah. Okay, that should be just fine. So now we actually need a script. So let's create a new class. And we called this Play. So it's going to add it to a default package up here, which there's going to be no definition or anything. So we'll just click this class. We'll just drag it down into the scripts folder. So now it's already there. So here we will say public class play extends logic behavior. And here we need to say import engine.logic behavior. Okay, and then that sets our class up for us. So inside of the editor, whenever we're going to have the ability to create a script from inside of our editor. And what that's going to do is it's going to create all this for us so that we don't have to add all this extra crap every time. So if we create a script inside of the editor, everything is going to be automatic, and it's going to automatically add things that you might need, like public void update, for instance, because, well, most logic behaviors are going to use the update behavior. So that's going to be one of the things that's going to automatically be put in there for you. So let's see here. I'm going to take this test script. And here. Okay, and then that automatically added the input and time and the key event. All right. So basically, we're doing exactly like what test is doing, or I should say did. So we can comment that out. So it is no longer rotating if we hit the D key. In that script at least. So let's go ahead and make sure that it's not rotating. Now it's going to take just a second longer because it's going through external files now. If we go to Tutti Frutti, we have test on there. So if we go here, we hit D, it does not rotate. Okay, so we know that it is doing like how it's supposed to, not rotate at all. So let's click on Tutti Frutti again. Go add component. Maybe. I've been having some issues with TinyFD, and I always have issues with it for some reason. It's like it locks up my computer almost, especially in builds. So I think here really soon we're going to be adding our own windowing system, just kind of like this. But it's going to be our own, and it's going to run faster. It'll run a lot faster. It's not going to, it won't have this issue where, like right here, it's obviously froze the application until you go through this. Which is perfectly fine because we're not using the editor while we're adding whatever input. But it's kind of stupid because it just pops up not responding and you get this stupid cursor. So we'll fix that as well. So yeah, that's something that we need to get done, because if I'm having a problem with it, then somebody else out there is having an issue with it. So within the next couple episodes, we're going to start another windowing system just so that we don't have this issue. So we need to add the play component. So with play, we're just going to say capital P, play. Let's see. Are you going to work? Why did you just shrink me? Okay. Play is attached. We have now officially attached a component that is not inside of our package. It's an external file, and we've actually compiled it at runtime and attaching the class. So now if we go on here and we hit D, you can see that now it's rotating. Awesome. So yeah, we have officially began attaching external scripts to internal game objects at runtime. So that is very unique. Not very many people actually show that. Not very many people that make their own engines even have that feature. So yeah, except for, I don't know why that just saved it. Do I have like an auto save feature on here or something? Like when I exit a window, it saves it. I don't know. I don't know know if that may be something going on. Okay, but anyway, everything is perfectly working. In the next episode, because this is finishing our actual external scripts. In the next episode, we need to make it so that we can add external or import external fonts, materials, scenes, shaders, skins, sprites, textures, the whole works. We need to import all the folders that are inside of our project externally. So that'll be pretty nice. I'm going to wait on messing with the camera because right now, yeah, the camera doesn't move, but it does render whatever is on screen. And that is the most important thing. And since we don't have physics or anything like that, there's really, I guess, no rush to get into camera effects and camera placement and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm not gonna worry about that a whole lot. So we're going to just go ahead and do some more editor stuff. After we get this going, I also want to get possibly like double clicking, because double clicking would actually be a nice feature as well. So if we say have textures or whatever, and I click over here, but I double click, it will open up whatever application I have to edit or look up PNGs. The same thing with scripts. So we'll have a scripts thing over here. This is actually too small for now. So another thing we need to do with the editor is add the ability to drag these windows. Like this window left and right, which will do the width for this and this. This dragging up and down will cause the height for this and this, and width for this as well. So that's another thing we need to do with the editors, because we're starting to lose room. And we also need to get scrolls down as well, because we're going to start getting to the point where this is not going to be enough room. So we're going to need the ability to scroll with the scroll wheel. So there's a lot of things that we still need to do in the editor that will make it easier for us and better for us to work on our games with. So I will see you in the next episode where we start importing all these external folders. All right, thanks for watching, guys.